My wife was in a coma, so I read her diary for comfort. I deeply regret it, and now I can't look at her the same. She'd been out for 6 days after a car accident. Some drunk driver ran a red light. The doctors kept saying, "Wait and see," which is the worst thing you can tell someone watching their wife lie motionless in a hospital bed. I'd been doing everything they suggested, talking to her, playing her favorite songs, reading her books, but nothing was working. Every night, I drove home to an empty house that felt more like a tomb. On the 6th night, I collapsed on her side of the bed. It still smelled like her lavender lotion. I opened her nightstand to get the bottle just to feel close to her. That's when I saw it. Her diary. I'd never touched it before. 10 years of marriage, and I'd always respected her privacy. But that night, I wasn't thinking straight. I just needed some piece of her. I opened to the first page. Dated 3 years ago. He doesn't know I'm writing this, but I need somewhere to put all these feelings. My heart sank. I thought I was about to read complaints she'd been hiding, but I kept reading. Today at breakfast, he mentioned his back was hurting from yard work. He brushed it off, but I could tell it was bad. Made a mental note to book him a massage this weekend. Won't tell him it's from me. He'll just say, "I'm spending too much." I flipped forward, page after page, all about me. Little observations, tiny details I'd mentioned once and completely forgotten. He really liked the chicken I made Tuesday. He said the garlic was perfect. Add extra garlic next time. His mom's birthday is in 2 weeks. He'll forget until the last minute, then feel guilty. Already ordered flowers. We'll tell him they're from both of us. He seems stressed about his work presentation. Didn't want to talk about it. Left an encouraging note in his laptop bag. Noticed he's been sleeping poorly. Bought new pillows today. Won't mention why. He'll say I'm worrying too much. My hands were shaking. I had no idea she was doing this. Taking notes on what made me happy. There was an entry from a fight we'd had. Something stupid about the garage. We argued today. He was harsh about it. Felt hurt all afternoon. But then I remembered he'd been working overtime all week and was exhausted. He wasn't angry at me. He was just tired. Need to remember his frustration isn't personal. I can love him even when I'm hurt. Another entry. Sometimes he gets quiet and distant. Used to worry I'd done something wrong, but that's just how he processes stress. He needs space, not questions. So I wait, and I'm here when he's ready. I found an entry about things that annoyed her. He left his coffee cup on the counter again. Drove me crazy for a second. Then I thought about how he always fills my gas tank because he knows I hate stopping. How he learned to braid hair for his niece. How he tries so hard at everything. 1 coffee cup doesn't matter. Our anniversary last year. He held the door for me tonight, pulled out my chair, asked the waiter to turn down the music because he noticed I was straining to hear. 10 years, and he still pays attention to these tiny things. How did I get this lucky? I'd done all that without thinking, but she'd noticed. She'd written it down like it mattered. The last entry was from the morning before her accident. Sometimes I wonder if he knows how much I pay attention. Probably not. That's okay. I don't do it for credit. I don't need him to notice that I noticed. I do it because loving him is the easiest thing I've ever done. After 10 years, I still find new reasons to choose him every single day. I closed the diary and sobbed into her pillow. She woke up 2 days later. When her eyes opened, she looked at me and smiled. "Hey, why are you crying?" I couldn't speak. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm okay." She recovered quickly. One evening, I told her how much her diary meant to me during those dark days. Her face went completely pale. Which entries exactly? The ones about noticing everything about me, about how loving me was easy. She sat down heavily. "I need to tell you something about that diary. 3 years ago, I almost left you. We were fighting constantly. My therapist told me to start documenting small positives instead of dwelling on negatives, to see if I could find reasons to stay. Those entries weren't natural observations. They were homework I forced myself to do to convince myself not to file for divorce." The room went cold. I just stared at her, like I was seeing a stranger wearing my wife's face. She was looking down at her hands, twisting her wedding ring around her finger the way she always did when she was nervous. The same movement I'd seen 1,000 times, but now it felt loaded with meaning I'd never noticed before. "I know how that sounds," she said quietly. Her voice had this defeated quality to it, like she'd been dreading this conversation, but it worked. I mean, it actually worked. I didn't know what to say. My throat felt tight. The words came out rough. So all those entries, all that stuff about choosing me every day, that was just an exercise? She looked up at me, and I could see tears forming in her eyes. At first, yeah, but somewhere along the way, it became real. The homework turned into actual feelings. I started noticing those things naturally, not because I was supposed to, not because my therapist told me to. I stood up, needing to move, needing space. The living room suddenly felt too small. When did it become real? She thought about it for a moment, her eyes going distant like she was searching through memories. Maybe 14, 15 months ago? The entries changed, you know? I stopped writing about forcing myself to see the good and started just writing about the good because I actually saw it. It stopped feeling like work. "So for the last year and a half, you've actually loved me?" I needed to hear her say it clearly. "Not just convinced yourself to?" She nodded, and a tear rolled down her cheek. "Yes, I swear. You can read it if you want. The diary's still in the nightstand. You'll see the difference in the writing, in the tone. It's obvious. Do you still love me now? The question came out quieter than I meant it to. Yes, she said immediately. Of course I do. That's why I'm telling you this. I don't want secrets between us anymore. The accident made me realize life's too short for that. And that's how I found myself at 11 p.m. that night, sitting on the bathroom floor with her diary spread open across my lap. I'd told her I needed some time to process everything, and she'd gone to stay at her sister's place for the night. Said she understood, that she'd give me space to work through it. I started from where I'd left off before, back at the beginning. The entries from 3 years ago were exactly what she'd described. Clinical almost, like a checklist she was forcing herself to complete. Today, he made me laugh during dinner. Remember this when you're frustrated with him. He squeezed my hand in the car. Small gesture, but it matters. Focus on the small things. There were dozens of entries like that. Each one felt calculated, deliberate. She was trying so hard to save the marriage, to find reasons to stay. Part of me appreciated the effort. She could have just left. Instead, she'd fought for us, even if it was through homework assignments. But then, like she'd said, they shifted. Around 14 months ago, the tone changed completely. The entries got longer, more natural. The observations felt spontaneous instead of forced. Went to the farmer's market today. He insisted on carrying all the bags even though his shoulder was bothering him. Didn't even think about the diary when I got home. I was just happy. This felt easy again, like it used to. I read through weeks of genuine entries. She was right. These weren't exercises. These were real observations from someone who'd fallen back in love naturally. She wrote about inside jokes we'd developed, about feeling safe with me again, about looking forward to coming home. My chest loosened a bit. Maybe this was okay. Maybe the homework had just been a tool to get her through a rough patch, and now we were actually solid. Then I hit an entry from 3 days later, and everything changed. Told him about Mom's anniversary today, how I've been feeling like I'm disappearing, like I'm becoming invisible even to myself. He said everyone feels that way sometimes and went back to his work email. Didn't even look up. I stopped breathing. The bathroom suddenly felt airless. I don't remember this conversation. I racked my brain, searching for any memory of her telling me she felt like she was disappearing. Nothing. Her mom died 7 years ago from cancer, and I know the date. April 23rd. I looked at the entry date. April 23rd, 14 months ago. How the hell did I not remember this? My hands started shaking as I kept reading. I let him see the real me today. The scared, sad, messy parts. The parts I usually hide because they're not fun or easy. And he looked away. Not meanly, not like he was trying to hurt me, just looked away. Like it was too much or too boring or too something. I don't know which is worse, honestly. The next entry was dated 2 days later. He didn't mean to hurt me. I know that. He was probably distracted with work stuff. The campaign launch was that week. He had a lot on his mind. But I can't unknow it now. Can't unsee it. When I showed him my actual pain, the real vulnerable stuff, he didn't see it. Or he saw it and it wasn't important enough to respond to. Then 3 days after that. I'm choosing to stay anyway. Marriage is work. I'll work harder. Maybe I expected too much. Maybe being fully known is asking for something impossible. Maybe everyone has parts of themselves they have to keep hidden. That's just how relationships work, right? My stomach turned. I flipped forward, dreading what I'd find. The entries after that became hollow, mechanical. She was back to doing homework, but this time it felt desperate. Like she was clinging to something that was slipping away. Made spaghetti tonight. He said it was great. Complimented the sauce. Focus on that. He's not a bad person. He works hard. He tries. This is enough. This has to be enough. We watched a movie. He put his arm around me during the scary parts. Physical affection counts. Remember, physical affection counts. These moments matter. Said I love you today before bed. It felt like a lie. Maybe it always was, and I just didn't notice before. But I'll keep saying it. Fake it till you make it, right? That worked before. Maybe it'll work again. I read through months of this. Page after page of her slowly hollowing out, forcing gratitude, manufacturing positivity, convincing herself. The entries got shorter as time went on, more clinical, more detached, like she was running out of energy to pretend. Smiled at him this morning, smiled back. Good moment. Write it down before I forget why it mattered, before I forget how to find the good things. He asked if I was okay today. Said yes. Easier than explaining. Can't explain anyway. Nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. I'm just tired. So tired. Bought him his favorite beer at the store. He thanked me. Small wins. Count the small wins. That's what the therapist said. Count the small wins, and eventually they'll add up to something bigger. The entry from 2 weeks before her accident. I don't tell him real things anymore. The real things scare him away or bore him, or I don't even know what they do, but they don't get seen, so I keep them inside. Surface level is safer. Pleasant is safer. He likes pleasant. 1 week before the accident. How long can you keep choosing someone who doesn't see you? Is it even a choice at that point, or just inertia? Just going through the motions because you don't know what else to do? The night before the accident. How long can you pretend before you forget who you were pretending to be? Starting to think I already forgot. Starting to think the real me died somewhere around April, and I've just been walking around in her skin. I closed the diary and pressed my palms against my eyes. The bathroom tile was cold under me. I felt sick. Actually, physically sick. My wife had been dying inside for 14 months and I hadn't noticed, hadn't seen it. She'd shown me once, really shown me, and I dismissed it. Told her everyone feels that way sometimes. What kind of person does that? I tried to remember that day. April 23rd, 14 months ago. The campaign launch had been a complete disaster. My boss had been furious. I'd been working 18-hour days trying to fix it, putting out fires left and right. I remembered being stressed, remembered barely sleeping. But the specific conversation with her? Nothing. Just a blank space where something important should have been. She came home the next morning around 10 a.m. I was still sitting at the kitchen table with the diary in front of me. I hadn't slept, hadn't moved except to make coffee that I didn't drink. She saw the diary and stopped in the doorway, her overnight bag still in her hand. "You read more?" she said. Not a question. She could see it on my face. I nodded, not trusting my voice yet. She set her bag down slowly and walked over, sat down across from me. Her movements were careful, like she was approaching something fragile or dangerous. Which one of us was fragile? Which one was dangerous? Maybe both. "Tell me about April 23rd, I finally said. 14 months ago." Her face changed. The color drained out of it. She looked down at her hands. "I don't remember. Your mom's anniversary. You told me you were feeling like you were disappearing, that you were becoming invisible." She was quiet for a long moment. Then her eyes got distant, like she was watching something far away. "Oh, yeah. You were working on your laptop at the dining room table. I sat down next to you and said I was having a hard day, that it was Mom's anniversary and I felt like I was losing myself, like I didn't know who I was anymore outside of being someone's wife or someone's employee or someone's friend." What did I say? She looked at me, and her expression was so tired. "You said everyone feels that way sometimes. Then you kept typing. Didn't even close your laptop." My chest felt tight. "Did I look at you?" She shook her head. "Not really. You glanced up for a second when I first sat down, but then you went back to whatever you were working on, some email or document or whatever. I sat there for maybe a minute waiting to see if you'd say anything else, but you didn't. So I got up and left, and I just let you go." She shrugged, but it wasn't casual. It was the kind of shrug that meant yes, but I'm not allowed to say it hurt. "Yeah." "You let me go. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you tell me it was important?" Her laugh was bitter. "How was I supposed to do that? Say, hey, I know you're busy, but can you stop and pay attention to my feelings? That makes me sound needy, demanding, like I'm asking you to fix my emotional problems. But I should have seen it. I should have known." She leaned forward, her elbows on the table. "How were you supposed to know? You're not a mind reader. I said I was having a hard day. You responded. It wasn't the response I needed, but you responded. You didn't do anything objectively wrong, but I hurt you." She nodded slowly. "Yeah, you did. And you never told me. What was I supposed to say?" She sounded frustrated now, like this was an argument she'd been having with herself for months. "Hey, remember that thing you said 14 months ago that you probably don't even remember? Well, it destroyed me. It made me realize you don't actually see me. How do I bring that up without sounding crazy? So you just suffered alone." I tried not to. She gestured at the diary. "I tried to work through it. Tried to remember all the good things about you, about us. Tried to focus on the positives like the therapist taught me, but it didn't work this time. The homework didn't work." We sat there in silence. I could hear the refrigerator humming, a car driving past outside, someone's dog barking, normal sounds in a moment that felt anything but normal. "The entries after that conversation," I said carefully. "You went back to the therapy homework." She nodded. "Because I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't leave you over one conversation. That's insane, right? People don't get divorced because their husband was distracted one time. You didn't cheat. You didn't hit me. You didn't gamble away our savings or develop a drinking problem. You just didn't see me when I needed you to. How do I leave someone over that? How do I even explain that to people? So you stayed and tried to force it back. I stayed and tried to remember why I loved you, tried to focus on the good things, the nice things, the ways you try, but it never came back the way it was before. The feeling never came back. My hands were shaking. I clasped them together on the table to make it stop. When you woke up from the coma, when you looked at me and smiled, was that real?" She was quiet for a long time. Then she shook her head, just barely. "I was relieved to be alive, genuinely relieved. And you were there and you'd been there the whole time, apparently. The nurses told me you never left my side. They told me you read to me and played music and talked to me for hours. How could I not smile at that? How could I not feel something? But you didn't feel what I felt." She met my eyes. "No, I didn't. I felt grateful. I felt guilty for what I'd been thinking before the accident. I felt like maybe this was a sign, you know? Like maybe almost dying would reset everything and I'd love you again the way I used to. But it didn't work." She shook her head again. "No, it didn't work. I tried. I swear I tried. but the feeling's just gone. Do you feel anything for me now? I needed to know, needed to hear her say it. Another long silence. Outside, the neighbor's kid was bouncing a basketball. The rhythmic thud filled the quiet between us. She listened to it for a moment before answering. I feel guilty, she finally said. I feel trapped. I feel like a terrible person for not loving you back when you clearly love me so much. But actual love? Romantic love? Being in love? She shook her head. No, I don't think so. Not anymore. Since when? She met my eyes and hers were full of tears. 14 months. Since you looked away. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, to explain that I didn't remember, that I'd been stressed, that it was one conversation, one moment in 10 years of marriage. But I could see in her face that she'd already had this argument with herself 1,000 times. And she'd stayed anyway. Stayed and tried and failed and stayed some more. Why didn't you leave after the accident? I asked. You could have used it as an excuse. Fresh start, new lease on life, trauma, whatever. People would have understood. Her jaw tightened. She looked almost angry for a second, then just tired again, like the anger took too much energy to maintain. I thought about it. I actually planned it. While I was recovering in the hospital and then at home, I was planning how to tell you, what to say, how to make it hurt less. I had whole speeches worked out in my head. What changed? You never left my bedside. She said it flatly, like an accusation, like I'd done something wrong by caring. The nurses said you were there every single day, all day. You read to me, played music, talked to me for hours even though I couldn't respond. You cried. My sister said she visited on day 3 and you were a mess. My dad came on day 4 and said he'd never seen someone so devoted. How could I leave you after that? What kind of monster would I be? And there it was, the real reason she stayed. Not love, not even obligation to the marriage vows or the 10 years we'd spent together. She stayed because leaving now would make her the villain in everyone else's story. You're staying because of what people would think, I said slowly, letting the words settle between us. She flinched but didn't deny it. If I leave you now, everyone will think I'm heartless. Your friends, my friends, our families. Everyone. The wife who abandoned the man who never gave up on her, who left right after he proved how much he cared, who walked away from someone who sat by her hospital bed and cried. I'd be the villain in every version of this story. I can't be that person. So you're just going to stay forever? Pretend for the rest of your life? She looked at me with tears streaming down her face now. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't want to stay. Being here, pretending, it's killing me. But I don't know how to leave without hating myself for it, without becoming someone I can't stand to be. Something broke in me then, a clean snap, like a branch under too much weight. I can't do this, I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected. I can't live with someone who's just here out of guilt, who's performing a marriage instead of being in one. I know, she whispered. I know you can't, but I don't know how to leave. Will you ever love me again? The question came out raw. Be honest. Will the feeling ever come back? She looked at me for a long time before answering, like she was really considering it, really searching herself for any possibility. Then she shook her head slowly. I've tried. For 14 months, I've tried to force it back. I've done the homework. I've focused on your good qualities. I've remembered why I fell in love with you in the first place. None of it works. The feeling's just gone and I don't think it's coming back. Then you need to leave. I said it firmly, but my voice cracked on the last word. You need to go. For both of us. She started crying harder. But then, I'm her. The villain. The heartless wife who left after he saved her. The ungrateful bitch who threw away 10 years with a good man. I can't be that person. I've been sitting with that for months and I can't do it. I can't be the person everyone hates. You already are that person, I said quietly. You're just hiding it. You've been hiding it for over a year. Every smile, every thank you, every I love you has been a performance. You're already her. You're just making us both suffer longer by staying. She put her head in her hands and sobbed. These weren't pretty tears. These were the kind of tears that come from somewhere deep, somewhere that's been locked up too long. Her whole body shook with it. I watched her cry and felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just this weird, empty clarity. She was mourning the version of herself that wasn't cruel, the version that could stay married to a good man who loved her, the version that could forgive a moment of emotional neglect and move on. But that version died 14 months ago when I dismissed her pain without even realizing it, and she'd been pretending to be someone else ever since. I need time, she finally said through her tears. Her voice was thick, barely understandable. I need time to figure out how to do this without destroying myself, to figure out how to leave without becoming the villain. How much time? I asked. Because I can't do this indefinitely. I can't sit here knowing you're just counting down the days until you can leave without looking bad. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. I don't know. I don't know how long it takes to become okay with being hated. I nodded. The exhaustion hit me all at once. My whole body felt heavy. Okay, but you should probably stay at your sister's for a while. I can't have you here right now. Can't watch you perform being my wife. She nodded and stood up slowly, like her legs weren't sure they'd hold her. I'll get some things. She went to our bedroom. I heard drawers opening, clothes being pulled out, the sound of her moving through the space we'd shared for 10 years, taking pieces of herself away. When she came back out, she had a suitcase and her work bag. "I'll call you," she said from the doorway, "to figure out next steps or whatever." "Yeah," she hesitated, like she wanted to say something else. Then she just left. The door closed behind her with a soft click that somehow felt louder than any slam. I sat at that kitchen table for another hour, staring at her diary. All those entries, all that effort to convince herself, all that pain she'd swallowed because leaving a good man for a moment of emotional neglect seemed impossible to justify. The worst part was knowing she was right. If she left now, everyone would think she was terrible. They'd ask what happened, and she'd have to say he didn't comfort me the right way once, 14 months ago, and I never got over it. Who would understand that? Who would take her side? They'd all think she was being dramatic, unreasonable, that she was throwing away a good thing over nothing. But staying was killing her, and knowing she was only here out of fear of judgment was killing me. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother. "Haven't heard from you in a few days. How's she doing? Recovery going okay?" I stared at the message. If I told him the truth, he'd think she was ungrateful, heartless. He'd been the one who stayed at the hospital with me during her coma, who brought me coffee at 3 a.m., who told me to keep faith when the doctors looked grim. How could I explain that his presence, his support, his faith had trapped her? I typed back, "She's doing better. Thanks for checking." Another lie. We were both so good at them now. The next few days were strange. The house felt different without her in it. Emptier, obviously, but also more honest somehow. Like the walls could finally stop pretending too. I went to work and people asked how she was doing. I said fine. They said they were glad she recovered so well. I nodded and changed the subject. At night, I kept reading her diary. I couldn't stop myself. I read the entries from when we first met, when she actually loved me. Her handwriting was different back then. More excited, more energetic. The letters larger and loopier. He makes me laugh so hard my stomach hurts. I've never felt this way about anyone. Then the entries from our wedding. I married my best friend today. I keep looking at my ring and smiling like an idiot. How did I get this lucky? The early years of marriage. We had a fight about dishes and then laughed about it an hour later. He came home with flowers for no reason. We stayed up till 3 a.m. just talking about nothing and everything. Watching the love fade across pages was brutal. Watching it turn to homework, then watching the homework fail. She texted me on day 5. "Can we talk?" Not about leaving or staying, just about logistical stuff, bills and the house and whatever. I said yeah, and she came over that afternoon. She looked different. Thinner maybe, or just more tired. She'd been crying. I could tell from her eyes. We sat in the living room this time instead of the kitchen. Some unspoken agreement that the kitchen held too many conversations we couldn't take back. She had a list on her phone of things to discuss. Very practical, very organized. Who would pay which bills? Whether we should tell our families anything yet, when she'd come get more of her stuff. We got through it mechanically. Then she set her phone down and looked at me. "I need to ask you something," she said, "and I need you to be honest." Okay, that day, April 23rd. Do you remember it now? At all? I'd been asking myself the same question for days, searching my memory over and over. I remembered that week being hell, the campaign launch disaster, my boss threatening people's jobs, the endless meetings and calls and emails, but the specific conversation with her? Nothing. Just a blank space where something important should have been. "No," I admitted. "I don't remember it at all." She nodded like she'd expected that answer. "That's the thing. It wasn't important to you. It was just another day where I was sad and you were busy. You probably had 100 moments like that over 10 years. But for me, it was the moment. The one where I realized you could look at me in pain and not even see it. Or see it and not think it mattered enough to respond to properly. I'm sorry." The words felt inadequate, but I said them anyway. She shrugged. That same not casual shrug I was starting to hate. "I know you are. But sorry doesn't make me feel differently, you know? I've tried so hard to let it go, to remember that you didn't mean it, that everyone has bad moments, that you were stressed, but I can't unfeel it. I can't unknow what it's like to be invisible to you. Is that all I am to you now?" I asked. "Someone who made you invisible?" She thought about it. Really thought. "You're someone who loved me a lot, but didn't see me when it mattered most. And I'm someone who couldn't forgive you for being human, for having a bad day and not giving me what I needed." We're both stuck with those versions of each other now. The afternoon light was coming through the window behind her. It lit up her hair from behind, made her look almost angelic. I thought about all the times I'd looked at her and felt lucky, grateful, in love. Now I just felt sad. "Your family's going to hate me," she said quietly. "When I leave, whenever I leave, they're going to think I'm horrible." "Probably," I agreed. There was no point lying about it. Your brother brought you food every day at the hospital. Your mom called every morning to check in. Your dad sent me flowers. They love you. They were so worried about you. They saw how devoted you were. They'll think I'm a monster for walking away from someone who loves me so much. What do you want me to say?" She looked at me with something like desperation. "Tell me I'm not a monster. Tell me it's okay to leave even though you never cheated or hit me or did anything divorce-worthy. Tell me it's okay that one moment killed everything and I can't bring it back. Tell me I'm not crazy. I can't tell you that." I kept my voice level. Because I don't know if it's true. I don't know if you're right to leave or if you're throwing away 10 years over one bad day. I don't know if you're being honest about your feelings or if you're just scared of intimacy or if you're depressed or if you're exactly right and I'm the one who can't see it. I don't know anything anymore. Her face crumpled. She looked like I'd hit her. I know. I don't know either. That's why I'm still here. That's why I haven't left yet. Days passed like that. She stayed at her sister's but came by every few days to get more stuff or discuss practical matters. We were polite to each other in that horrible way people are when they're sharing a life that's ending but not ended yet. She'd ask how work was. I'd ask if she needed anything from the house. We'd stand in the doorway like acquaintances instead of people who'd been married for a decade. I caught her writing in the diary one evening. She'd come by to get some books and I found her at the kitchen table, pen moving across the page. When she noticed me watching, she closed it quickly, too quickly. "What are you writing?" I asked, even though I knew I probably didn't want the answer. She hesitated. Her hand was still on the closed diary. "Just thoughts." "About me? About us?" She looked uncomfortable, trapped. "Does it matter?" "Yeah, actually it does." I stepped closer, trying to keep my voice calm. "Are you doing homework again? Finding nice things to write down so you can convince yourself to stay another day?" Her face went pale. She didn't answer, which was an answer in itself. "How many days has it been?" I asked. "How many entries of forcing yourself to find reasons not to leave?" She closed her eyes. "A lot. So every day you're just manufacturing gratitude. Making yourself lists of why I'm not terrible enough to divorce. Tallying up small kindnesses like evidence in a trial. That's not..." She started, then stopped. She opened her eyes and they were wet. "Okay, yes, that's exactly what I'm doing." The honesty hit harder than I expected. Jesus Christ. "What do you want me to say?" She looked defeated. "Broken. I'm trying, okay? I'm trying to make this work because the alternative is becoming someone I can't stand. So, yeah, I write down the good things. I force myself to notice when you're kind or thoughtful or whatever. I try to remember why I married you. It's all I know how to do, but it's not working." She shook her head. "No, it's not working. I write it down and I feel nothing. Or I feel guilty for feeling nothing. It's like trying to convince myself I'm hungry when I'm full. The words are there, but the feeling isn't." I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. My legs felt weak. "I need to know something. The whole truth this time. How long do you think you can keep doing this?" "I don't know." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I've been asking myself that every day for 14 months. How long can I keep pretending? How long before I can't force myself to smile anymore? How long before I forget what real happiness feels like? And what's the answer? I think it already happened." She looked at me with hollow eyes. "I think I broke months ago and I've just been going through the motions of being a person who hasn't. Like I'm walking around in the shell of who I used to be." We sat there in the kitchen that had seen 10 years of our life together. The same table where we'd planned vacations and argued about money and told each other about our days. Where we'd done taxes and addressed Christmas cards and made grocery lists. Now it was the place where we were admitting everything was dead, but neither of us knew how to bury it. "What about right after the accident?" I asked. "You said you planned to leave. What specifically stopped you?" She was quiet for a long time. Her fingers traced the edge of the diary. Then she said, "You were at my bedside every single day. When I woke up, the nurses told me everything. How you'd read to me, how you played my favorite songs, how you talked to me about your day like I could hear you, how you cried. My sister visited on day 3, and she said you looked destroyed. She said she'd never seen someone so heartbroken. My dad came on day 4 and told me I was lucky to have someone who loved me that much. So how could I leave after that?" She looked at me like I was being deliberately dense. "Everyone saw your vigil. Everyone saw how much you loved me. The nurses talked about it. The doctors mentioned it. My family was moved by it. If I left after that, after you proved your devotion in the most public way possible, I'd be the heartless bitch who abandoned the man who never gave up on her. You're not staying out of love." I said it slowly, making sure I understood. "You're staying because leaving now would make you look bad." Her face crumpled. "When you say it like that, it sounds so shallow, so terrible, but it's true." She didn't argue, just sat there with tears running down her face. "Yes, it's true. Your vigil at my bedside bought you time whether you meant it to or not. It trapped me as effectively as wedding vows did." The words hung between us, heavy and ugly and true. I felt sick. My devotion, my grief, my love during the worst week of my life had just become another cage for her. Another reason she couldn't leave without hating herself. "Will you ever love me again?" I asked. "Not today, not next week, but ever? Is there any possibility?" She looked at me for a long time, really looked, like she was searching for something she'd lost. Then she shook her head slowly. "I don't think I can. I've tried every way I know how. I've done the therapy exercises. I've focused on your good qualities. I've remembered our history. I've given it time. None of it works. The feeling's just gone and I don't think anything can bring it back. I don't think you can make me love you again. You need to go anyway," I said. My voice came out firmer than before. "I can't live like this. With someone who stays out of guilt and fear of judgment. That's not a marriage. That's a prison for both of us." But then I'm the villain, she said, her voice breaking completely. The wife who left after he saved her. The ungrateful one. The cold one. The one who threw away 10 good years over nothing. I can't be that person. Everyone will hate me. You already are that person, I said quietly, but with certainty. You're just hiding it from everyone, including yourself. You've been that person for 14 months. Every smile, every thank you, every time you said you loved me when you didn't, every entry in that diary trying to convince yourself to stay. You've been lying to everyone. You're already her. You're just making us both suffer longer by pretending you're not. She sat there crying, unable to argue, and I realized this was what she'd been doing for 14 months. Sitting with the truth of who she'd become and forcing it back down every single day, swallowing it, hiding it, writing homework entries to convince herself she was still a good person who loved her husband. But she wasn't that person anymore. Maybe she never would be again. I need time, she finally whispered. I need time to figure out how to do this without destroying myself. To figure out how to leave and still be able to look at myself in the mirror. I nodded, too exhausted to push anymore. The fight had gone out of me. Okay. We sat in separate silence. Two people trapped in a marriage by her inability to be seen as cruel, both knowing she was already gone and had been for over a year.